I swipe left on no Trump supporters. I also swipe left on no woke liberals. And people always assume it's because I'm trying to avoid politics. It's not. It's because I'm trying to avoid people whose entire identity has become politics. I'm filtering for something much bigger: curiosity, or maybe the lack thereof it. I've started to notice something over the past year on the dating apps. It wasn't just how many people listed their politics. It was how many people seemed to define themselves by who they refused to date. No MAGA, no Trump supporters, swipe left if you're conservative. And every once in a while, I'd see the opposite: no woke people, no liberals. Those got exactly the same response from me: swipe left immediately. Because both profiles were telling me that politics isn't just something they believe, it's who they are. And that made me wonder, when the hell did that happen? Because I don't remember people describing themselves this way. 20 years ago, your dating profile told me what you loved: dogs, travel, photography, music, cooking, your kids, whatever. Today, people introduce themselves by telling you who they hate. That's a pretty remarkable shift when you stop and think about it. We've gone from leading with our interests to leading with our exclusions. It's almost like the first thing people want you to know is who they aren't. And I don't think that's just a dating app problem. I think dating apps are simply where it becomes kind of impossible to ignore this stuff. Because a dating profile is basically identity compressed into a few hundred characters. That's if you bothered to write one in the first place. But you don't have much space. Every sentence has to earn its place. So if some of that valuable real estate is dedicated to telling strangers who you're unwilling to date, that's probably pretty important to you. Maybe the most important thing. Now, I'm sure people will get upset about this because maybe your profile has this in it, but think about it. Just hear me out. I'm not saying politics shouldn't matter. Of course it matters. If you're looking for a long-term partner, you're probably trying to build a life together, and politics can affect how you think about money and kids, religion, education, healthcare, marriage, the whole thing. And those differences absolutely matter. What I'm talking about is making politics your opening line, making it your personality, making it the thing you introduce before anything else about yourself. And I started wondering, why? Because it didn't always feel like this, right? Politics used to be something you learned about someone. Now it often feels like the first thing they want you to know. And that's a huge cultural shift. There have actually been surveys on this. Roughly 70% of dating app users now say political compatibility is something they actively consider. It's not religion, not whether someone wants children or not, or whether they smoke. It's politics. One survey I came across found that left-leaning daters were subsequently more likely to say they wouldn't date someone with opposing political views than right-leaning daters. Now, whether you like that finding or not, it's kind of interesting because it tells you that politics has become one of the strongest filters in modern dating. I don't actually care whether someone is liberal or conservative. Really. I don't care. I care whether they've decided one side has absolutely nothing worth hearing. There are policies I agree with that come from Democrats, and there are conservative positions I agree with. I don't sit around assuming one side has a monopoly on good ideas, because that's a ridiculous way to go through life. Ideas don't become good because one team said them. They don't become bad because your team said them, or good because mine said them. They either stand up to scrutiny or they don't. That's why I can't date someone whose first instinct is to dismiss an idea before they've even heard it. Mostly because of what that says about how they think. If someone's first reaction is, well, that came from the other side, so I'm not even going to listen to it. What happens when we disagree about something inside the relationship? Money, kids, where to live, family, career, whatever. Are they going to be curious, or are they going to decide that I'm wrong before I've even finished my first sentence? And that's what I'm actually filtering for, not their vote, their mindset. Curiosity is attractive in general, but certainly on dating apps, and one of the foundations of a relationship. The best conversations I've ever had weren't with the people who totally agreed with everything I said. They were with people who were genuinely interested in understanding why I thought the way I did. And that made me want to understand them too. That's how good conversations and good relationships work, by exploring, not winning. I think we've lost that. Somewhere along the way, politics stopped being something people believed and started becoming something people were. Now, before anyone starts typing angry DMs, let me just say I'm talking about something much more fundamental than politics here. I'm talking about curiosity. I think curiosity has become one of the most attractive qualities another person can actually have, and one of the rarest. The older I get, the less I'm interested in finding someone who agrees with everything I say. That actually sounds pretty boring and kind of exhausting. I want someone who's willing to hear something they disagree with and ask, why do you think that? That's it. Because they're genuinely interested in understanding another human being. That's what curiosity looks like in its most basic form. It doesn't require an argument, it requires interest. And I think we've slowly replaced curiosity with certainty. We've become incredibly certain people, certain that our side is right, that the other side is wrong, that people on the other side must be bad people, certain there couldn't possibly be anything worth learning from them. And certainty is comfortable. Curiosity, well, it isn't. Curiosity requires you to be wrong, makes you hear an argument all the way through before deciding whether it makes sense, and finding you occasionally saying something almost nobody says anymore. I never thought of it that way. That's a powerful sentence, and it's become an incredibly rare one to hear anyone say. I think social media and news networks deserve some of the blame. Not one network or one social, but all of them. Because every one of them has figured out that keeping you angry keeps you watching. Keeping you convinced the other side is insane keeps you coming back tomorrow. Algorithms figured this out too. Watch 3 videos on one topic and you'll get 30 more. Click on one political post and suddenly your entire feed starts looking like everybody agrees with you. And after a while, that starts feeling like reality because that's all you're seeing. Your friends, the people you follow, the news you consume, the people you interact with online probably all reinforce those same beliefs. It's just human nature. We like people who make us feel understood. We like hearing ideas that already fit inside the world we've built. There's something comforting about that. But it comes with a cost because if everybody around you thinks exactly like you, who's left to challenge your thinking or point out your blind spots? Who's left to say, I think you're missing something and here's what it is? The answer is nobody. Well, maybe me, but mostly nobody. And that's dangerous no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. I've said it before that one of the qualities I look for most in dating is curiosity. That's what the whole Yes and episode was really about. It wasn't actually about improv comedy, if you haven't figured that out. It was about finding someone who builds instead of blocks, someone who hears an unexpected idea and thinks, oh, interesting, instead of no. Politics is starting to feel the exact same way. People don't hear an argument anymore, they hear a label. Republican, Democrat, Fox, CNN, Trump, Biden, whatever it is, the label comes before the idea. And once the label arrives, the conversation's already over. Maybe that's why I swipe left on both kinds of political profiles, because they tell me the conversation is already ended before it began. One of us isn't allowed to ask questions anymore, and that's the part I can't live with. I don't need someone who votes exactly like I do. I need someone who can disagree without assuming the worst about me. Someone who can explain their position without treating mine like a character flaw. And understands 2 intelligent people can look at the exact same facts and reach different conclusions. And that doesn't automatically make one of them evil. Maybe that's the bigger change I've been noticing. Politics used to be one piece of someone's identity. Now, for a lot of people, it feels like the entire person. I don't know what happened. I don't know if social media did it, cable news, algorithms, the pandemic, Trump, Obama, Joe Blow down the street, maybe all of it. But somewhere along the way, politics started becoming something that preceded ever getting to know someone. That seems like a loss to me, because I've met liberals I like and conservatives I couldn't stand. I've agreed with Republicans and disagreed with Democrats, vice versa, the whole thing. But real life has never been as neat as the internet wants it to be. People are, at least they should be. Which brings me back to dating. If the first thing we learn about you is who you refuse to date, I'm probably not learning the most interesting thing about you. I'm learning the loudest thing about you. How about instead tell me what makes you laugh or what's something you're curious about or you can't stop reading or thinking about or believe in that almost nobody agrees with, a weird hobby that you don't tell anybody about. Tell me something that helps me understand who you are, not just who you decided everybody else is. I don't care whether you're left or right. I care whether you've decided the other side has nothing worth hearing.